South Africa has been shaken by yet another political earthquake following the High Court's dramatic judgment that can potentially change the direction of the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, for good. In a ruling that has sent shockwaves within the political establishment, the court ordered EFF Deputy President Floyd Shivambu to publicly disclose the names of corrupt leaders in his party within 7 days. It is a directive that has not just rattled the EFF's leadership but also fascinated a whole nation used to political intrigue but not ready for a move of this kind. The ruling comes after weeks of strained legal battles following an explosive affidavit and leaked documents that emerged hinting that Shivambu had confessed in private to knowing the identities of senior EFF members who were at the center of corruption scandals. These papers released to the media and blown up on social media conveyed a damning narrative: clandestine meetings, dubious tenders, and harsh deals that appeared to undermine the party's public persona as champion of the oppressed. Opposition parties and civil society organizations fed up with what they perceived as EFF leadership stonewalling urged the courts to act. They contended that Shivambu could not keep quiet while the money of taxpayers was allegedly being diverted under the eyes of a party which has long professed to be fighting for the poor. Delivering the verdict, Judge Deba Lamoni was categorical in her statements. Mr. Shivambu cannot withhold information that squarely implicates public representatives in acts of corruption. South Africans deserve to know, she asserted, her voice ringing in the full courtroom. This court therefore directs him to provide and make public names of EFF leaders who are corrupt within 7 days. Her words had the authority of both constitutional law and public anger. The courtroom itself became silent as the import of the decision set in, reporters momentarily shock-skewered for the doors to break the news. Outside, demonstrators who had gathered in hopes of hearing the decision cheered and chanted, "Name them. Name them now." Some waved placards that said, "Accountability for all, and no one is above the law." For Shivambu, the decision was more than a judicial loss. It was a nightmare come true before an entire nation. Famous for his passionate oratory and confrontational political demeanor, Shivambu is now confronted with the toughest professional choice of his life: comply with the court and betray his comrades, or disobey the injunction and invite contempt charges that may land him in the dock with a fine, disqualified from office, or a stint behind bars. Political pundits were quick to comment, postulating that the order has the potential to splinter the EFF. "This is a bombshell," remarked one veteran commentator on a live TV discussion. "If Shivambu obliges, he stands to blow up his party from within, opening divisions that will never be closed. If he does not, he will face legal action and undermine the credibility of the EFF with the wider public." Either way, this is a crisis point not only for him, but for Julius Mimmer and the entire EFF leadership. The timing of the judgment could not be worse for the EFF. The party is already under close scrutiny regarding its finances, internal conflicts, and dwindling popular trust. There have been concerns about foreign donations, local government money, and factional violence. In the past few months, 4 years, Malema and his close associates brushed off corruption charges as politically driven propaganda smears aimed at undermining a radical movement. But the courts have now pushed the issue into the open in a manner which can no longer be dismissed or framed as propaganda. The big question now looming over all political debate in South Africa is simple but incendiary: who are Shivambu's leaders whom he will be required to identify? 4 years whispers have surrounded dodgy tenders granted in EFF-influenced municipalities and clandestine links to unsavory business personalities. Should she fall in line, the exposure would potentially expose some of the EFF's most influential personalities, perhaps even those who are nearest and dearest to Mimmer himself. These revelations not only would be an embarrassment to the public, but have the potential to break up the party's internal factions and undermine its authority before national elections. The decision has provoked intense responses around the nation. Opposition parties welcome the ruling as a watershed moment for accountability. For too long, the EFF had been shielding itself behind rhetoric inflamed by passion while escaping scrutiny, one DAP told a press conference. Now the truth will finally come out and South Africans will see whether the EFF is truly different or just another party playing the same corrupt games. Civil society groups echoed these sentiments, demanding swift compliance and warning that failure to follow the court's order would prove that the EFF is protecting corruption rather than fighting it. Not everyone welcomed the ruling. EFF supporters responded angrily, making charges of political bias against the judiciary. Some marched on the streets and took to social media, decrying the decision as part of an alleged scheme to undermine the EFF before future elections. Some alleged that charges against other parties had not been treated with the same urgency or inspection. This outrage was reflected online with social media bursting forth in such hashtags as #NameThem, #FCorruption, and #7DayCountdown. Passionate arguments erupted on radio talk shows, WhatsApp forums, and Twitter threads with run-of-the-mill South Africans having their say on whether the court was acting beyond its bounds or finally dispensing long overdue justice. In EFF headquarters, meanwhile, tension is reported to be running at an all-time high. Party insiders who spoke on the condition of anonymity to local reporters painted a picture of panic and distrust. "Everybody's looking over their shoulders," a source said. "Nobody knows whose names Floyd might mention, and everybody's already shifting allegiances. Some are urging him to defy the court, while others secretly prepare for the consequences should he acquiesce." Sources indicate that Julius Malema has held a number of emergency meetings with his inner circle to plot a response that maintains both the unity of the party and its reputation. The effects stretch far beyond the EFF. The ruling is already being considered a key test for South Africa's democratic order. Legal analysts add that if Shivambu disregards the order and no consequence follows, it will create a dangerous precedent that erodes judicial authority. Alternatively, if the judiciary prevails in enforcing its judgment, it might consolidate public confidence in the courts and send an electrifying message that no political leader is above the law. Shivambu's choices are narrow and dangerous. If he acquiesces, the consequences can be disastrous for the EFF, possibly leading to resignations, expulsions, or even a party split. If he refuses, he can face charges of contempt that can end his career as a politician and further destabilize the party. Some pundits believe that he may try a middle course, revealing only a limited number of names or couching his statement in a manner that protects the party's leadership. But legal scholars warn that such half measures would likely fail to satisfy the court or the public's demand for transparency.